In this video, I'm going to show you how to change an acoustic guitar string. And once I've shown you how to do it on one string, you can just repeat that process for all of the other strings. There are some things that you will need. Surprise, surprise, you will need the string that you are replacing. I'm replacing the high E on my acoustic, which in this case is a gauge 13 string. I'm also going to need some cutters to cut off the excess string when I'm done. A string winder is handy, not essential, but it does make the process a lot quicker. And also a cloth, because let's say you're removing all the strings on your guitar, well then an area of the acoustic body is going to be exposed and you're going to be able to get in there and clean it properly. Whereas normally you'd be kind of loosening the strings and then trying to get underneath them. And this is just a good opportunity to wipe a bit of dust off and that kind of thing. So let's get zoomed in to the acoustic guitar and let's change that string. There are two main reasons you might want to change your guitar strings. The most obvious one is if it breaks. The other reason is that it starts to sound a bit out of tune, the intonation starts to go, maybe it looks a bit rusty or feels a bit harsh on the fingers, that kind of thing. So let's go with the second assumption first of all, and you'll see why in a little while. So I'm going to explain first of all how you would take an acoustic guitar string off and then replace it with a new one. So this is the high E. This is the one that we're going to replace. So what we want to do is grab our string winder and we are going to loosen the string until it's super saggy. Okay. So that string is basically hanging off now. Now, the reason we loosen it is because if we were to just take this peg out straight away, they'd have all this tension in the string and it'd go bing and potentially fly off and hurt someone. So we loosen it up and then this peg here, whichever peg corresponds to the right string, you pull it out. And you'll see that when you release the old string, you've got a nice ball on the end of this string here, okay? And basically on the inside, the ball presses up against this peg and that's what kind of holds it in position. All right, so now we've loosened off our previous string, we can lie our guitar flat on our lap. Doing it on your lap's not the best idea, but for this video, that's what I've had to do. And then we unwind the string from the headstock, okay? So it'll be wound round here. Just use a bit of common sense and you unwind it and then you take it out. Just be careful, especially with the thinner strings, because they can be a little bit sharp, so just be careful. And then you take it out and that one's come out nice and easily. So we can get rid of that old string now. So as you can see, the guitar now has one less string. The high E is not on there. I'm going to show you how to now put the new one in. But before that, if you were to release all of the strings and you had no strings on the guitar, this would be a great opportunity to give it a bit of a clean and get in there and that sort of stuff with your polish cloth, okay? And I've still got this peg in my hand. Don't misplace your peg because it's very easy to do. Yes, right, let's move on. So let's get our string. Okay, so this is our gauge 13 string here, which is the one I'm going to replace. We take it out of the packet, of course we do. We want to unwind it so it's a long string, not a circle. Might take a little bit of unwinding depending on how much they've wound it in the factory or whatever. So this is our string unwound, all right. Taut nice and tight there, you can see. And then what we do is we take this ball end, remember the ball end from before? The ball end goes in the hole. And you press it down a little bit, press it into the hole slightly, and then you take your peg, and you'll see on the peg, there's actually a little crevice for the string to go in. So make sure you line the crevice up so that the crevice is facing that way, okay? So the hole for the string, or the crevice for the string, is facing that way. So that's going in there like that. And I press it down, and I just hold it with my finger, and I pull the string up, make sure the string is taut. Now, because the string hasn't been tightened on yet, it is easy and possible to like yank this out and pull the peg with it don't do that. Just keep the peg in, straighten the string out gently, and you're going to bring the other end of the string to the headstock, okay? And then what we want to do is we want to make sure that the hole is facing parallel to the neck, okay? And all we do is we come from the inside of the tuning peg. We bring our string round once, wrap it round once. And this is a little bit fiddly if you've never done it before. And then once you've wrapped it round once, you poke it through the hole and pull like so. Okay, so that's now pulled through. And this will take some practice, so don't be surprised if you don't get this right away. It can take a little bit of practice. And once that's in place, you can start tightening it back up. But just make sure that the string is actually sitting inside the nut here. There's a little gap right here where I'm pointing to with my finger right now. And you want to make sure the string is sitting in that gap. And then we start tightening our tuning peg a little bit. Okay, so that's the sound of the string hitting the other strings as it's pinging around. All right, so we've now got a little bit of tension in that. So I'm going to get my string winder. I'm going to carry on tightening because it's much, much quicker with a string winder. All right. And we want to try and find the right note. So as we know, if we're doing reference pitches, we can use the 5th fret of the B string. Keep referencing that note. Okay, so that's sounding more or less in tune, but the thing with new strings is you've got to stretch them out, and I always recommend stretching them out from the 12th fret. So you'll stretch from the 12th, and notice how this goes out of tune now. He says. It's gone slightly flat. So I'm doing my reference pitch, and then the high E. All right. Now I'm pulling, 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 pulling. And it's now beginning to stay in tune, more or less. Oops. And when we think we've got our string in tune, and we pull it and it doesn't go out of tune anymore, this is where we can use our snips. And all we have to do is on the headstock end of the guitar, we want to snip off the remainder of the excess string. You probably want to leave, you know, 1/2 centimetre of string or something like that. And you snip it off, and then you'll see that there's a nice tidy end here now. There's no big piece of string kind of hanging out. And that is how we change acoustic guitar strings.